and we can probably get started now. All right, so let's start it. Okay, so so today we're going to talk about Virgil and like just web forensics and so on. Just like a few house rules. We just like that's the first time we do the virtual summer school. So yeah, we will see how that goes, and I hope you will enjoy it. If you have any question, I will try to keep an eye on the chat and or like just if you want to like say something, feel free to just do that. I'm happy to just answer questions pretty much live. Yep. Still a few people coming in. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to let a few more people come in before actually starting. Hey. Okay. Okay, so I think it's going to be like just yeah. I will keep authorizing people to join when they show up. But let's get started because we have quite a bit of things to go through. So yes, the goal for today is going to show you like the suite of tools that we call Virgil. That's going to be basically used to capture URLs and do some forensic investigations on the websites. So, so yeah. First of all, like Eurodyne IT, that's like the company I'm running now from Bordeaux. But the tools are all maintained and worked on like via Circle. So based in Bordeaux, and the tools we develop and maintain are all made to help people make like informed decisions when they use the internet, because whatever AI stuff are going on, we still have like our best bet is still going to be to use our own brain most of the time, despite the best efforts of all the companies with way too much money. Everything is open source, so I will not like keep talking about just everything we will talk about during like the whole session and the week is open source. And we've been doing some like trainings at Eurodyne IT, but also at Circle, mostly for at-risk communities and our journalists. Right now, those communities overlap, especially in the US. And all the tools I'm going to talk about have been like co-developed or invented by Quinn Norton, who is also my spouse and part of the second half of Eurodyne IT. For the tools maintained by Circle, that's just like a subset of what's maintained by Circle. A lot of those tools will be presented in the next few days, well, in the next like couple of weeks. That's a lot of stuff. Today, we are just going to concentrate on Lacus, Lookyloo, Pandora, and some monitoring and like interactions with other tools that are also maintained by Circle, like MISP and so on. Also hash lookup and stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to be like today is going to be mostly web forensic and some connections with other tools. So yeah, that's a bit how you can see Circle right now. That's like the Circle office, basically, like with all the tools we maintain and you using them. At some point, you probably use some of the Circle tools during your activities. So the tools we're going to cover today are Lookyloo, the monitoring interface for Lookyloo, Lacus, and Pandora. All those links are available. You can just like open those domains, open those sites, and like play with it. I'm going to show you a bunch of sample slides, and just so you have an idea of like how everything works. And Virgil is the complete suite of tools. So basically, like instead of like naming like the 5 tools one after the other, Virgil is basically like the complete suite of tools that that you can just install everything at once and configure everything and just like have an easy way to install, start, update, and just like do all the management for all the tools from one single place. And those ones are Ansible playbooks that you can just install. It does all the config and everything. And if you want to have a look again, there is like an Ansible playbook, like there's a GitHub repository with all the stuff you might need. So I keep like looking at the other screen because people keep coming in. So yeah, just like big picture of like what we're going to talk about today. And I will go through all the tools one after the other and give you some samples, some examples on like what's going on. Oops. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to share the slides. I'm just looking at like the slides and the recording of the session will be shared at the end. So that's a lot of people. I didn't expect like 127 people to show up at the session. If some of you want to say either in chat or just like talk about like what you are interested in for a specific session and like why are you here? Because I'm assuming that you just didn't see the light and you have other things to do. So why, like, do you have any of you wants to like say a bit like why they're here and like what they would like to learn during this session? Don't be shy. And if you, yep. Yes, everything's been shared. Yeah. So yeah, is there any question? Feel free to also do it in the chat if you want. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, right. Okay. So basically, we're going to like show you how the tools are used in search context, or like how it can help you to just like work faster and do your just do instant response and web forensic in a slightly more efficient way when you're dealing with URLs. Is there any? I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat. Okay. Just to check. Okay. So I'm going to just get started with just like a big overview. And like you should like throw questions in the chat. I will attempt to look at it. But if you just like ask a question, that's also just fine. All right. Okay, so let's get started. That's it's gonna be, we have a lot to go through. Okay. So first of all, Lookyloo. So I'm going to basically show you live how, like on a live instance, how that's looking. So when you receive a URL, when you have like a URL coming from like somewhere, it's generally somewhat tricky to figure out like to like render the content in a realistic way that is not just opening it in your own computer. And sometimes just like opening in your own browser can be a bad idea depending on like what you're dealing with. But also you will often not have on your own machine something that can look like the potential target of the fish. So what's going to be really useful with Lookyloo that you can configure a lot of settings and you can pass a lot of like parameters to basically make the browser look like someone else or like another organization and so on. So when you go on the capture page, at the top you have like the display on public page, and this one is going to be just like, do you want to display the capture on the public index page of Lookyloo? If you untick that, it will just be stored on the private index that is only visible if you're logged in. And then you have URL. You can either tick the box to have multiple URLs or just one. And you can also submit documents. So by web-enabled document, what we mean is basically HTML documents. But anything that can be rendered in a browser, you can just submit it in there, and it will be just pushed to a browser and rendered as if it was just in normal browser. User config, user agent config. So you can basically either say, I want to use the user agent of my own browser, or you can enter your own, just whatever you want, is a free-form user agent field. And the one that is possibly more interesting is this one. So you can pick a user agent out of a predefined list that comes from the default in Playwright. We need to talk about Playwright more, because Playwright is a tool that is used to actually do the capture by instrumenting browsers. So you can select the operating system. You can then select a specific browser type. So you can be Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and basically all those ones are. So Playwright will do the capture either in Chrome or in Firefox or in WebKit. So you can basically select whatever you want here, and it's going to just be run through that. And then you have if you select a type of browser, you might have sometimes multiple user agents for the same browser. And OS type here is the other quite interesting one. Is by default it's going to do the capture as a desktop site. But if you select mobile, it's going to give you a list of pre-configured mobile devices. And it will, when the capture is triggered, the browser that does the capture will be set up with a specific viewport on the user agent, and it will basically act if it was a mobile device. Quite handy to capture some websites that only trigger bad things from a mobile device. Yeah. And then down below here, you have a lot more settings that you can pass to the capture. So the first one here is allow tracking, and this one is going to basically try to bypass GDPR pop-ups. So when you have when you capture something from Europe, you very often have just a div on top of everything that asks you to either authorize or refuse every tracking. If you tick that box, it's going to try to find that button and click on it. You can disable JavaScript if you want. You can select the proxy. So this one, I will explain it more in details later. But basically, if you have proxies available in your organization, you can pre-configure them for the capture, and they're going to show up in this list. So you can basically say, I want to capture this URL from the US or from Japan or from Germany, France, Netherlands, whatever. Just you can select a specific exit point for the capture. You can set your own proxy if you want. If you just have a proxy that is reachable via your Lookyloo instance, you can just throw it to there. Max capture time is how long the capture is allowed to run. Then you have the viewport at the side of the screen that is going to be used to view the page. So you can just set whatever you want in here. Referrer. So the referrer is a HTTP header that is passed when we do a GET request, a request against a website, and basically to say I come from that URL, and now I'm going to this one. It is relatively common on login page, especially banks, when they want to basically protect their login page by forcing you to come from the general, the official website, and then the login page, and they will block requests that go straight to the login page. If you put something here, it's just going to bypass that limitation. Then you have browser local. So this one, you can basically set a specific accept language in the HTTP header. Once again, that's useful for websites that have different languages. They will check that HTTP header to see, okay, do I want to render in French, German, English, whatever. If you want to, if you have other HTTP header you want to pass, you can just throw them in there, like just anything. Like if you're like a auth token or whatever, you can just do it in there. The time zone here is going to be the time zone of that is just like your browser basically a non-specific time zone it's in, and you can just like set whatever you want in here from the predefined list. So if you say, for example, if you want to do like from like Paris, you can just like start typing it and select the time zone you want to do the capture from. Color scheme, light, dark, that's like if you have like if the theme on the website are specific, like if you have like light on dark options for the color scheme, you can just like select it in here. Also can be useful if like a website is only rendering the bad stuff in like in one of those two options. Yeah. Geolocation, you can pass the geolocation. So this one is going to be given to the geolocation API in like of the browser. So if the website requests geolocation, you can pass it here, and it's basically like respond with those values to like to whatever is asking for it. HTTP basic authentication. So if you have like a HTTP basic auth on the website, you can just like enter it here. Storage state, I'm going to explain a bit later. Basically, that's going to pass like the current, like when you do a capture, you have like stuff stored on the disk that is like cookies, local storage, index database, and you can basically get that from another capture, pass it in this one, and rerun a capture on it, and that's going to basically keep the state kind of like your session just before. Yeah. Cookies, so basically like we had initially storage state, only cookies, and now we have also storage state. Basically like couldn't really remove like the other feature, but this one is just the cookies, and this one is like the full storage state, meaning also local storage and index database. Do not track in like another setting that is basically discontinued now, so don't bother with that at this point. But yeah, so that's how you can like configure a specific capture. Yeah. So I would just like keep that for that. I'm going to now show you a specific capture, just so to show you how that works. So, oops, tech. If I, for example, go for capturing circle.lu, I can just enter it in here, and then I'm just going to set like that and start looking. So now the capture is triggered in the background. So it's important to keep in mind that the capture tries to be as legit as possible. So it's going to wait for some time. Like it will have a bunch of like waiting times to make sure that we get all the traffic. And like the page has time to completely load. And we also have like some interactions I will explain to you later. But basically one capture on like a normal website that is not like too big and relatively simple, it's going to take roughly 30 seconds. So yeah, and we cannot really like reduce it that much because we need to make sure that we get all the traffic before stopping the capture. So yeah, and now you have a capture here. So as you can see, like fairly simple website. I'm just going to zoom it a bit. So I just entered circle.lu. So circle.lu is going to basically tell you, okay, I have a redirect to the HTTPS, like basically encrypted like HTTPS version of the site. And then you have like the page that is rendered here. When you click here, you can see like a screenshot of the page. You can download the screenshot. Yeah, by default on this instance, the screenshot is not blurred, but by default, like you should basically blur the screenshot if just on public instances, because you don't necessarily want to see everything that shows up on URLs just first thing in the morning. You have like bad stuff going on there. I see a question. How does the conf we choose for the browser impact the results? So depending on the website you're currently rendering, I'm just going to go back on the capture page here. Some websites will render differently if you display them in Chrome or Firefox or Safari or any of those ones. And same if you capture from like a different country, you will also have sometimes widely different rendering. Also for like phishing sites, fairly often they are geofenced. So like for example, like if it's a bank target, if the bank targeted is based in France, it will only render if you do the capture from France. Disabling JavaScript, some websites only render if JavaScript is disabled. That's something that we've seen sometimes, especially on like Onion websites. So you need to, if you disable that, it's going to be like different. The viewport, the size of the screen, the reference, like basically all those settings, like when you trigger a capture, like all those settings might change the rendering. The local, typical like thing that's going to happen is that depending if you show up as like with saying that you speak French or English or German, if you open a Luxembourgish website, you're going to see a different site just based on the language. So yeah, like you don't need to specify anything to do the capture, but you can. And that's the important bit. Like you can just configure all those parameters to have something that like fits what you're trying to render. Yeah. So again, I have like a few simple samples I'm going to open here. So I just like open Google before, so you just have like a bunch of redirects all the way to like the landing page. This one was captured from directly from the just without any proxy. If I open this one, I think this one I captured it from France. So that's the interesting thing here. If we capture, so I captured the first one from like with a proxy in France. So we see here we have like the authorized, like the page, like the GDPR page, authorized a few things. This one is captured from the US. Captured here like proxy US. And you said you don't have any of that. So again, that's like just, you will have different stuff coming in depending on like what you capture and from where. Again, we have like France versus like, so we have it in French versus in English and so on. So that's just like that kind of thing is really, really useful to just see how specific websites are rendered from specific places. You can also upload a file. So in this case, I have like one here that I also captured. So like I just like took something from my computer and just meeting people here. Yeah. So basically I just like open the HTML document, send it to a browser, and then you have like the page rendered here. Quite useful when what's been sent is like when you, for example, you receive like an email containing an attachment as an HTML file, you can just take that file, send it to Lookyloo, and have a rendering of the page that you can then just have index on everything on Lookyloo. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to show you is other ways to like submit captures to Lookyloo. So you have like a few options where like, say you have like a Lookyloo capture somewhere and you want to upload it on your central instance. You can basically export it from one Lookyloo and push it to the other one. Just like you need to like just do a full export, like for example, from this one. I can do like download elements, download full capture. And this one is going to take like a full JSON blob, a full zip file containing all the elements. And you can just take that and push it to like another instance. You also have like if an instance is like can reach another one, you can basically just like pull a capture directly from like another instance to this one. This one is like a little bit more experimental, but can still be useful. HAR, it's called, so HTTP archive is like a standard format that you can extract out of like specific different tools. If you have an HAR file and you want to just like throw it in Lookyloo, you can basically export it from another tool and submit it in this one. And then it's going to basically do the tree building as much as it can. It's not necessarily working as well as if you do the capture through Lookyloo, because I will explain to you later, but like basically Lookyloo has like a bunch of other stuff that happen. And like the tree will be of like better quality if you do it from Lookyloo directly. Like you'll have favicons, you'll have a screenshot, just you have like a bunch of stuff that you don't necessarily have, you just have the HR file. And that like a few other settings you can basically pass as like as a specific, just like for like uploading an existing capture from somewhere else to your instance. Okay, so yeah, now I'm going to like talk about the tree a bit more because there is like a lot to say in this one. So I just like quickly started to do it a bit. So in this case, the capture I did was like http google.fr. What you have here is like a redirect from google.fr to www.google.fr, and then another redirect to google.com. All those ones are like unencrypted, and then last redirect to encrypted version of the site. That is basically what we call like the landing page. So that's the page that is like the URL of that page is in the browser at the end. So again, you have that. So you can like click on all those ones and see like you have the full. So when you click on a node, I'm just going to like click on a node here. You're gonna have like a lot of like stuff coming up in here. So you have passive DNS results. So it's going to do like after the fact DNS resolution like on a bunch of different DNS types, so SOA, MX, AAA, and so on. And those ones are made from the Circle passive DNS instance. Important thing to keep in mind for this one is that the DNS resolution for this one is made from Luxembourg, so you might have different resolution if you come from like somewhere else. A bunch of other DNS queries, like for like the specific domain. So we get the IPs, SO record, MX record, NS records for this one. The IP address from the HR file. Get all the HTTP header from the request and from the response. So in this case, it's just like a simple redirect, basically just like redirection by location. So this one is just going to basically say, okay, go from that domain to that other one. Yeah. And after that, next domain here, you have like another redirect that goes from fr to google.com. So again, same kind of things. And then google.com to the encrypted version of it. On this one, also sets a cookie. That's interesting here. You can also see the cookie that's set by the specific request. So sandboxing detection. Yes. So when doing the capture, we use Playwright. Playwright is a tool by Microsoft. I can just like open apps. So that's going to be this one here. And this one is made normally for testing websites, which means that it's detectable. It is like you can detect Playwright if you really look for it. And Cloudflare detects Playwright fairly easily. I'm working on it to find ways like around that, but it's really tricky. There's a tool called PatchFi that is supposed to like bypass those kind of detections, but I'm not completely sure how maintained it is. But most of the time, most of the websites will render fine because we actually come with a browser. And we look like a legit user if you don't like look too much into it. So you might detect Lookyloo usage, but like most websites don't necessarily detect it that much. So yeah, going back to this one. Oops. So yeah. So yeah, like we have again like the redirect and we see like the cookies. And after that, we land on the actual page. That like the google.com page. So again, you have all the same information, also some TLS information. We would like to have more TLS details than that. Like for example, the getting like the hash of certificate, but in that case, we don't have it. Like Playwright doesn't just like expose it, so I don't have access to it. One thing that could be done at some point in the future is to like do another request to only get the certificate, but it gets really tricky when we do like one request like in the browser, another one afterward, to be sure that we actually have the same content. So right now it's a bit limited. I hope they will add more stuff at some point, but right now that's a quite limited output. From the render page here, you can also get the rendered HTML. So because like when you do a GET request, you get the HTML content. It's going to be widely different from what's actually in your browser, like after all the JavaScripts have been running. So you have like widely different output depending on like which one. If you click on this one, which is like the content of the response versus the rendered page. A bunch more settings, a bunch more information here. Like you can, if I click on that, I'm going to see like if that same hash has been seen somewhere else. I will show you more examples when it's like more interesting afterward. Submit to Pandora, I'm going to talk about it later. But basically you can like take the file and send it to another tool. Can be useful if like what you download is like a PDF, for example. Embedded resources, so this one is quite interesting because when you receive an HTML content, you might have like just resources loaded from like just like by a link, but you can also have it base64 encoded inside the page directly. And those ones are sometimes a bit more tricky to find, but we just like extract it. And then basically you see, okay, that resource was like directly inside the page. And you can see like if it's an image, you can basically just like hover over the img icon here and see what the image is. And then if you click on that, you're going to see, oh, that image has been seen on like 2 different captures. I mean, that's like the very similar, that's google.com, and like just basically the same capture, but like still interesting from like a base64 encoded blob inside the HTML to be able to see, oh, that one is visible on like has been used in different websites. HTTP headers again, cookies. So you have like here you have like a bunch more cookies that have been set, been received by that page. Yeah. So and then after what we call the like the rendered like the landing page, we have everything's loaded by that landing page. So in this case, it's like not too much stuff, but like you have like a bunch of fonts, some like Google static, JavaScript, and CSS, and yeah, like different kind of content. If I click on one of those, for example, if I click on this one, it's going to show me all the resources that have been loaded from the landing page. So again, you have like just all that. You can again investigate all the HTTP header, all the cookies sent, all the cookies received. You can like see the images. Yeah, like and you can like when you click on the logo here, you can basically download that specific resource. Just like if you click on it, you can just download it and investigate it on your side fairly easily. I mean, investigation of that might be tricky, but like you can just get that specific resource. Yes, we can have image hashes. We can have the hashes of all the resources. So in this case here, if you click on that, like show resource information, you have the hash here. Getting like right now, you cannot just get a hash of all the just the images. Like you can get all the hash of the whole, like of all the nodes here. But yeah, you cannot just have just the images. That's something we could add at some point. Yeah, feel free to like anytime open like pull request, feature request, just go for it. Feel free to like open requests on the on GitHub. That's the best way to get in touch and see what can be implemented in the future. Yeah. Can you use web page user to login? Yes. So you can. So one way to do that is if it's an HTTP basic auth, fairly easy. You just like pass it in during the capture, like in the app. If I just go back on the capture page, you can pass it in here, username, password. If you need to be logged in, but if you basically can log in on the page in a normal browser, and then you extract the cookie jar and you pass it then to the capture here, you will be logged in. So only do that if you have your own Lookyloo instance. Please do not send me your login password, your like logged in cookies on the public Lookyloo instance. So yeah, depending on like how the login is gonna work, like how you can like basically act as logged in on a website. If it's a cookie, you can do it this way. If if you have any issue, like if you try to do something that is like somehow not possible right now, let me know. We can probably figure out how to add that feature. But yes, if you are logged in on a site, extract the cookie to basically get the cookie jar out of your browser and then send it to the capture. It is gonna work just fine right here. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm just moving that. Okay, so yeah, that's like just how the tree looks and what can be good here. So I'm going to show you more capture later on that have like much more levels, because when you have the landing page and what's loaded on the page, all those resources can keep loading more content. So yeah, I think we had something like that on this. Do we have it on this circle? I don't remember. No, we don't have it here. But yeah, anyway, actually, yeah, this one. So we have like the landing page here, and then we have some content loaded from that page. And then inside one of those, you are going to load some like fonts, an image, and like another font here. So basically, you can have like multiple level. And again, those websites are very clean. I'm going to show you later other websites that are a lot less clean and it's a lot more messy. Yeah, let's go to statistics. So statistics page again here, this like just simple capture. You have like the number of first name, unique URLs, the cookies. The total load time here is the cumulative load time of all the requests. In that case, it's like 22 seconds. Loading the page took less than that. It's just because a lot of requests are done in parallel. And then the total size of the response. So still like just to render google.com, we still have 2 megs of data. And that is very little. You will see pages that have like 30, 40 gigs, 30 megs of data, not gigs, megs of data just to render the front page. HTTP post request. The best, we can look at it later. I will see if I have time to show that to you. Like the post requests for login credentials, it's going to depend a bit of like what kind of request you're going to have, like what kind of like login credentials you need to pass. So I can show it to you later, but you might need to discuss after the session. Yeah. So settings. So statistics, I'll just show you storage state. This one is going to be fairly small again for this one. In this case, we have like those 2 cookies and on the storage set. So those are like the local storage here. Local storage is something that I discovered not a long time ago, but basically this one is stored locally on your machine and accessible from via JavaScript. But this one, like the content of the local storage, and I'm going to show you much more after that, is not sent. You will not see it in the network. It will only be like locally on your machine and accessed by JavaScript running in your browser. So interesting. And this one can be also quite big. Like you can have a local storage for one site can be like easily 5 to 10 megs. Just like the specs just say it can be 5 megs just easily. And I will show you later another thing with like index database that can be huge. Like the specs for the index database, the index DB, says that it can be up to half of the free space on your disk. And literally in the specs is that if your disk is 500 gigs and 500 of free space, you can have 250 gigs of index DB. I've never seen that, but it's possible. So just, you can have a lot of interesting content in all that. Yeah, screenshot on favicon. So I'm going to open yeah, I'm going to basically, yeah, let's turn this on for now. So we have like the favicon here. So something important to keep in mind is that favicon's Playwright doesn't accept the favicon. It doesn't like fetch the favicon. So I have to have another like script that basically gets the favicon. So that's why I say like potential favicon here, because you might have sometimes multiple favicons. In this case, we have like two. We just extract from the rendered HTML in the end. So yeah, just like favicon on this one. And if I open up, I'm going to like open like the actual like public Lookyloo instance. Actually, I have it open here. Check. So if I go here, oops, yeah, just reloading that page. And by default, when you like see an image, like when you get a screenshot from like a public instance, it's going to be blurred by default. You can decide to like disable that if you really want, but I strongly recommend you to have a blurred image by default if you have weird content loaded from your on your Lookyloo instance. Downloads are also supported. So if I click on that one, I'm going to show you like that's a test page for me. But if you go here and then on the download button, you can see like that this page triggered downloads. And downloads can be like a link like to a PDF, for example, but you can also have JavaScript triggering download of an element without you doing anything. So for that specific page, it's just I open the link and JavaScript triggers download of like in that case twice the same file. But you can then see them on this one, and then that file can be then submitted to Pandora or downloaded or whatever. You can just like do all that in here. And sometimes when the capture is like weirdly broken, you will never see like the landing page on the tree. In that case, you can just click on like capture paste screenshot, and then you will just see it here. In that case, it's just like 3 dots, but like you can just do it from here. And again, page screenshot, and you have the screenshot of the page here. It's a screenshot of the complete page, not just the viewport. The viewport being like just like what you see in your browser at one time. Like this case, you try to take the complete page that can be displayed. So it can be sometimes really big. But yeah, you have like a full screenshot here. All right, so that's what I wanted to show about like this, like the basic stuff on the capture. Now, so we saw like the whole, what you can do when you just take one URL, capture it, and see a bunch of information. But what is really cool in Lookyloo is that you can basically get all those captures stored on one machine, and then you have a lot of indexing that can be triggered. So the most interesting one generally is going to be the favicons. So basically, you get the favicons, you open the page, you have like, in that case, you have like 2 favicons on the page. If you click on it, it's going to show you all the other capture that have the same favicon. Very useful when you have phishing sites. This one doesn't have anything. I'm going to like show you another one. But basically, if you get, if I go for example, this one here, opening it there, this one is like phishing site for like US Navy credit union, like a US bank. And if I click on that favicon, and then I click on that one, and I'm going to get a list of all the websites that had that same favicon in the past. And we can see here we have quite a few of them going fairly back in the past. Search and keyword from JavaScript. We don't have any free text search on content at this point. That would be interesting to add. Right now, no. You don't have a way to just search for like a specific keyword. What we have is identifier. So yeah, basically, like we just have like a look for like some specific identifier, typically Google IDs, like the ads IDs and so on. So if you have that kind of ID in the page, we can just like find it and extract it. But no, like free text search in any content, we don't have it. But that would be interesting to add at some point. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of content. Like on the public instance, we are doing like 10,000 capture a day roughly. And we are generating at least 1 terabyte of data a month. So that's quite a bit. Yeah. So again, I'm going to go back on this one. So like from there, we can Again, I'm on the public instance right now, so I have like a few extra stuff that you don't necessarily have if you're not logged in. So historical lookups, this one is going to basically say, okay, do we have like same content, like for how long have we seen that same, like in that case, same domain? This one, we've seen it like over like basically 2 weeks. That's true. Yeah, like we can explain a sort of keyword. That's true. It would be interesting to like find a way to like get a specific subset of the content. Yeah, would be good to have a look at that. If you get for the resources, the other one is quite interesting. You have a list of all the resources that are seen on that specific page. And again, you have like a lot of images. So if I hover on the images, I can just like see specific content. And you have a number of captures that have the same image in it. So again, that's quite interesting to pivot on images that are clearly only there for that specific site. So like again, this one, like it's an image of like just people talking, like just like basic image. You can click on that and then see all the resources containing that same image from again a whole bunch of websites. Can be useful when, like, for example, one phishing site doesn't have the favicon set or something. You can just like pivot on like all kind of content. And you can mostly you go for images because they are like the most interesting one. It's interesting to just like look at, but like you can pivot on all the resources, also the HTML content, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all of that. You can just like pivot, like on anything that's been fetched by the site. IP addresses, again, we have all the IP addresses for all the resources. You can use that to pivot. So again, like if I click on that, I'm going to see all the captures that are on the same IP. So I mean, this one is like glitch.me, like it's just a whatever CMS something. I think it's even dead now, glitch.me, but like I think they just like went out of business basically today. But yeah, you can just like you can pivot on like a lot of different settings. You can pivot on IP and host name. So you can just like click on that again, I click on that one, and I'm going to see all like it's in that case, it's going to be like mostly the same phishing site, but yeah, you have all of them in here. So IP hostname URLs, again, like basically same as when you click on hostname. Could you not, come on, do not just go away. So again, URLs, click on it, see the different URL, like the URLs on the page here, and see if they have been seen on like other captures. Oops. Yeah. All right, we're doing by pivot. So pivot is when, so you have one capture, so it can be like a phishing site, or it can be like your own site. And if you find like an indicator from that page, and you can use it to find all the other captures with that same resource, or like same indicator. So like what I mean by pivoting is basically just getting like using an indicator and using it to find everything that has the same indicator in other captures. Fuzzy hash, this one is also quite interesting. So this one is initially developed by CertPL. This one, so it's called dumb hash. The dumb hash is going to basically get rendered HTML document, get all the HTML tags from the page. So if you look on the page, it's just going to be like HTML at just all those ones, concatenate them, and build a hash out of it. So it's kind of like it's a fuzzy hash that doesn't really care about the content of the page, but just look at the structure. And again, if I click on that, I'm finding in that case like the same URL multiple times. But fairly often you're going to have the same phishing page targeting having like different targets, but with the same structure. And you can find that specific like structure of the page on multiple captures that don't have anything else in common. So searching data, yes, there is a search page that is well hidden that I need to expose it, but there is no link anywhere. But if you go on like just whatever domain and then search, /search, you're gonna have some pivoting options here. So like URL, hostname, IP, resource, the hash of the resource, favicon, or the favicon or the hash of the favicon, and the cookie name. I need to add more. I need to expose it, but like you can do some pivoting on that. Again, work in progress. It's not like complete yet, but you can do some of that from this page. Again, like the /search endpoint on the website. Hash lookup. This one also ups. This one doesn't have. Oh yes, yeah, it's not enabled on this instance. I'm going to just like go on that and show you hash lookup. So hash lookup is another tool by Circle, and it's basically a database of hashes of all kind of files. And in this case, it's going to get like all the hashes from the capture and give you like the output from hash lookup. So it's going to tell you like where this specific file hash has been seen somewhere else. So you can just like again look at that and see everything that is like if it's been seen somewhere. And then if you click on that, you're gonna have the information from like hash lookup directly. Oops. With like a lot more context. So yeah, can be useful depending on like what you use Lookyloo for. So yeah, you can push to another Lookyloo instance. I'm going to give you like a practical example later for that, but basically you can just like say, okay, take that instance, push it to that other Lookyloo instance. Useful when you have something local or when you have like multiple instances and you want to have like to push it to like your big indexing instance, you can just do that. Categorization, also something that is like work in progress. If I go again on tech, let me just find one that is up. Yeah, for that. Oops. Again, like I'm opening like an instance. You have here, if you have it enabled on your machine, you can click on there, manage categories, and you can attach like tags to a specific capture. Right now we use like a taxonomy from MISP. Needs to get some work done on that, but you can basically just like attach a category and then use that listing. Yeah, just like list all the capture in that same category later on. Yeah. So let's just go back to the page I was on. Yeah. MISP integration also. So like for third-party services, so VT, VirusTotal, and URL scan. For VirusTotal, you need to have an API key, and it costs quite a lot of money. And initially, it was like usable by anyone, but we basically exploded our limitation for just like for VT. So now it's admin only. But if you have your own Lookyloo instance, you just like use your API key and do lookup against VT from specific captures. So if I'm going to just show you how that looks. Oops. Tech. If I do third-party reports here, it's going to, maybe not from this one. Let me just find one that is possibly a bit more interesting. Up, check if I go here and then third-party reports. It's going to trigger a request again, in that case, against URL scan.io. So you can basically see the capture on URL scan. It's going to also check against fish tank. So like we have again also like a fish tank instance, and you can just like see like, oh, this one is like known as malicious on fish tank. And then VirusTotal again. So it's going to do a request for all the captures from like the URL you submitted to the landing page and show you like what vendors on VT know about it. Then if you click on the links, it's going to basically show you like the reports on URLscan.io and on VT. So yeah, that's just easy to like, just a simple way to just have that kind of view from like other modules. And then if I go again on check prepare push to MISP, so basically if I have like a MISP instance configured on my on my Lookyloo instance, I can decide where to push it. So and I can so I can like decide which one, JSON, MISP, or like in that case, we have like two configured. I have like basically preset tags. I can like set the event info. So if you know about MISP, just like that's the event info field for the MISP instance. Select a bunch of tags, and you can say, okay, push the event automatically, and then publish automatically. So you can basically push the event, create the full MISP event, push it to the instance, and publish it if you tick that box here. And you can also search on MISP. So if I click on there, it's going to basically do a lookup again for like the URLs all the way to the landing page and say, okay, I need to like update that rendering. But basically you have here, you have like, see, oh, you have two events that contain that specific URL on MISP. So it's already known basically. Yeah. So that's like the thing for like the third-party modules. And we can add more modules easily. Like it's just a matter of like just having an API here, being able to connect to it, do request, push stuff, pull stuff. Just that's easy to just add new features to it. Yeah, recently we did something. I don't know if you know assembly line. It's developed by the CCCS, the Canadian CSERT. And basically we have a module to like push pull from assembly line now. Again, you need to have an access to it. Yeah, the other use case for Lookyloo is to do incident response and reporting. So if I go again on that page here, there's a button here, like report suspicious capture. If I click on it, I can like enter my own email address, some comment. I have to tick the box here to basically allow like Circle to do whatever we want with it, and then send the email. It's going to send an email to a ticketing system, and while doing that, it's going to also gather contact points. So by contact points, I mean who is like basically who is like the email address in the who is for all the IPs, all the domains, all the autonomous systems, the ISN numbers. It will also try to find the security.txt file if it's anywhere on any of the domains. And if it's like it should basically try to get like as much contact point. It generates a JSON blob, send it in the email, and then the ticketing system or whoever is on the other end can just use that to trigger takedown requests. Yeah, also IPFS. So maybe not as much now, but like we had a lot of IPFS. I can actually check. Yeah, we still have one here. Basically, like IPFS URLs that, yeah, in that case, yeah, just are rendering some malicious content. And for those ones, we need to have like a specific contact point to trigger the takedown. So yeah, that's the thing for takedown requests. Yeah. So I just quickly talked about instrumentation earlier, but just going to explain you a bit more like what's actually happening during the capture. By default, a capture in Lookyloo is done in a headless mode. So you do not need to have a desktop, a full desktop on the machine you run the capture. Which has some downsides. I'm going to talk about it in a bit, but basically the default capture is headless. What's happening during the capture is if you tick the box, allow everything, it's going to try to bypass GDPR, like the GDPR overlay pop-up, whatever that is on the page, and it will try to click on authorize everything if it finds it. Then it moves the mouse on the page, just like do a bit of like moving around, hit the keyboard, I think like page down, page up. It waits between all those actions. It basically waits for no traffic. So like there is like a network idle, which is like I don't know if it's a generic stuff, but basically in Playwright, you have a network idle option that says no traffic for half a second. It's going to trigger that event. So basically between every action we do, we wait for basically like no traffic. If there is a fragment in the URL, so fragment is everything that comes after the dash in a URL. On this one, if you have it, it means normally that you jump to that specific place in the page. So if there is one in the URL that you submit, it will try to find to like wait for the page to load. And once the page is loaded, try to jump to that specific place. And just ignore it if it's not possible, but like it will try to do that at least. It also tried to move time forward. Sometimes some JavaScript is only triggered after like 30 seconds, for example. And this is like if you basically just try to like run that timer out. So that's just to try it. And then a bunch of random waits at different places. So on all the waiting times are random, like between like 2 and 5 seconds, basically, again, to make it like harder to detect if you do some like timing validation in JavaScript on the website. And then just when all that is done, it waits again until no traffic, up to a point. Like, I mean, sometimes if you are downloading like a gig of data, traffic will never be idle, so it will just like stop at some point. But by default, it will try to wait at least a bit. And if you want to, so this is I'm going to open like the actual like instrumentation here. It doesn't randomize every action. All the actions will happen. Just the weight will depend between each of them. It is, as it is, like you can detect playwright in other ways. So like the slight random weight is probably enough because if you go that deep in try to detect a bot, you have other ways to do it that will be much more efficient. I can talk about it later, but like it's so generally like that kind of action is good enough. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it. It will also try to bypass Google reCAPTCHA. It works sometimes. So Google reCAPTCHA is nice because you have the accessibility feature that when you click on it, it's going to send you audio file that like basically with like something like saying words, saying like I think a few words, and you need to type those words to basically solve the reCAPTCHA. Google has a speech to text API, so I just try to like submit that file to the text to speech and then get a response and then fill that in the form. It's very moderately working, but it's fun, so it's still there. Yeah, so like I'm not going to like go through all that. It's just FYI. If you want to like look at what's actually happening during the instrumentation, it's going to be in playwright capture in the capture page instrumentation here. So yeah, you have like a bunch of like wait time, move the mouse. If you allow tracking, we try to find the button to click on. Move time forward. We try to like jump to the right place. We have the keyboard up, keyboard down. Yeah, and then move time forward. We can like adapt those kind of like the instrumentation here. It is generally fine to trigger most of the things that will happen when loading the page to just do those kind of actions. So that's often just good enough. Oops. Yeah. So again, if you want to have like more details later on with like code on looking at like how stuff is implemented, it's all available, and I will share the slides anyway. Yeah. Okay. So as discussed, sometimes we end up having a page that either has a CAPTCHA or, in the case for this specific site, it's kind of annoying, like this like Mondial Relay like phishing sites. Clearly, that's like aid-mondial.sub.com. Definitely, that's a phishing thing. But it used like the default Mondial Relay like CAPTCHA thing, and in this case, it is really tricky to just bypass that kind of stuff. So the way to do that is to so you have like the remote instance here that has that capture. But what you can do here is you can, like, I have Lookyloo running on my own machine. So I'm just going to open it here. And in this case, I'm going to be lazy and I want to just pull a capture. Like I want to like pull that, this one, no, not this one either. Where is it? Sorry, I lost it. Like I want to pull this one. So in this case, I'm going to basically copy that URL. I'm going to do that. And then here I put the capture UID. So in this case, I already basically did it locally, but I'm going to show you again. So you can just basically do that. Render capture. So I'm going to like pull the capture from the remote instance to my local one. So in this case, I have again, like I copied the thing here. I'm going to click on like recapture. So again, I'm on my own instance now. I'm on my own machine. My own machine has a desktop. So if I go here, I have like the button, I have like here, use headless browser that is ticked by default. But if I untick it, again, I have my URL here. We will see if the domain is still up or not. I'm not completely sure. If it's not already the capture anyway. So I'm going to basically do that. I click on start looking. And here I'm gonna have the actual like render page, like just like the page here. And so I can do basically up 6 plus 6 plus 4, 10. I click on it. And then I have basically, I load like the next page here. I can fill the thing. I can just say that, and just enter my info, blah, 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 up. Like, so I can do like the full, like, up, and went also like, up. I can do all that. I click on next. And then I land on the page that actually has my credit card information. So you can basically go all the way through there. And by the way, if you want to like at some point test some credit card information, there is like a website that gives you like test credit card numbers. That's very handy to find something that's actually like going to be seen as legit. So if I do that, up, I enter the credit card. And oops, add apps, and then next. Okay, well, in that case, it's not working anymore. But as you can see, I can just like do the full capture, and after, in that case, 30 seconds, it's going to finish, and like the website, the browser will be automatically shut down. Everything will be gathered as normal, and then I have my full capture here that goes all the way to like the final page I was on here before. Like, yeah, I just went back, so like I don't have like the actual like failed page, but you have here, you can like see the full capture here. And then I'm still locally on my machine, but it's kind of annoying because I want to then submit that stuff to the remote instance. So I can have the whole indexing. So somehow, sometimes it's said to not work. So push to another Lookyloo, and then here I can say, okay, take that capture, submit it to that other Lookyloo instance. And here I have it, and I can open, and I have now that specific capture. On my remote instance, I can run the index, and when the indexing is done, it's also done in the background, but basically I can just like force it immediately, and then I can go on the resources, and here, like so, all those pop-ups here have search bar here, and generally you can also search for like images. You're going to get all the images from that one. So again, image, mondial relay, I click on that, and I'm going to see a whole bunch of captures that are on like all kind of different websites that have that same image on it. So again, quite handy, and you see all those ones are on the captcha, but like you can just like click on it and then see the different contents. So yeah, quite handy to just have a way to, you see a capture on your remote instance, you want to like interact with the page, you can just like fetch it, retrigger a capture locally, interact with the page, it's going to be to finish, and then you can push it back to the remote instance. fairly easily and have the whole indexing and so on that is done um, on your like public remote instance. Um, of course, you need to have a full capturing interface running on your own machine. Otherwise, you don't, or it's not working. We are trying to find ways to like maybe have like a VNC server, like open pop a VNC server you can just like have so it's running not on your own machine. It's not there yet, but yeah, that you have the idea here. The other one that like another features from Lookyloo that is like quite useful is to do monitoring. Sometimes you're going to get like a site, you have a domain that is not in use yet, but will be used at some point later. Like basically domain registered, clearly a phishing site, but it's not redirecting anywhere. But you want to know when that one is going to be actually like in use. So you can basically just like send it to Lookyloo, trigger monitoring, and do the capture like once a day or something, and then you will get notified when something comes up. Other use case is defacement. If you have like a website, just like you manage a website, and you want to be informed when something changed on it. So generally, defacement will change a lot of things on the page, so it's going to be fairly obvious that something bad happened. But capturing, like comparing capture is still quite complicated. I'm going to show you apps. I have like a few domains that are currently monitored here. So like those ones are like just clearly phishing sites that are currently not in use, but will probably be at some point. And when we talk about like comparing sites or comparing capture, not just site, like to capture and so on, we have like quite a few things. We have potential like chain of redirects. So you start from a URL, you have like a bunch of redirects to the landing page. So like in that case, you can have like just different domain, you can have different IPs. The IP can also change. Sometimes if you have like load balancing, you can have like different IPs depending on like which request you like when you do the request. And then you have the landing page itself and the resources loading on the landing page. So in this case, like just it's a really simple capture here. Doesn't really do anything. It's clear just like still the parking page. But you have that, and then you have like some API, Google APIs, the Google fonts that are loaded, and that's it. But if you have like a more complex site with like ad networks and so on, and I'm going to show you some few examples later, it can be extremely insane. You can have like hundreds of URLs. So you need to find ways to like discard what you don't care about and only like get notification when what you care about changes. So it can be tricky, still working on it. If you have ideas and so on, can be like, yeah, I'm interested. But yeah, you can, so to trigger a capture, you do it from here. Like you have the page, monitor capture, you can configure it. By default, public instance will automatically expire because I don't want to have someone triggering capture also like every 2 seconds forever. So it's just like very limited here. But if you have your own Lookyloo instance, you can configure it as much as you want. Email notification to like notify when something change. You can pick like set a collection of capture. Again, monitoring still work in progress, but like we're getting to something that is like quite useful. Yeah. So yeah, email notifications. Yeah. So it's just again work in progress, but like getting there to something quite neat. Okay, so I've been like hand waving a bit how the whole capturing is happening in the background. By default, if you have Lookyloo, it can be all on one single machine. But if you want to do a lot of captures, and by a lot of captures, I mean like 10, 20, 50,000 capture a day or something like that, you probably want to have something more dedicated. Like you probably want to have a dedicated capturing interface that is just doing that with multiple capture in parallel and only keep them for a certain amount of time in memory, but does it really fast. So for that, we have Lacus, which is just no differences if you use Lacus or don't use Lacus. But this one is a purely API only web like interface. just like REST, you do like get requests, post and get requests to get the content. On this one, like the main instance we run at, actually we run two instances, but like the really big one we run at Circle does 75 captures in parallel on a fairly beefy machine. Like you need to assume that each capture is going to use like 1 gig of RAM because you spin a full browser on everything. But you can then have that running for quite a while. Will there be a break? Yes, I can actually make a break right after Lacus before I go to Pandora. Probably in like 10-ish minutes. Yeah, like probably like in 15 minutes, I can do like a 15-minute break. Just like you can like get something to drink or something. But yeah, so yeah, Lacus, I'm going to show you like the public, like the demo instance I have here. It just looks like that. Just like API documentation. And you can you can play with this one if you want. But basically, like it's just this one, like Lacus is purely keeping stuff in memory for like a set amount of time, and the consumer for that needs to like query the response on the regular. That's what like the public Lookyloo instance is doing. It's basically submitting to Lacus, waiting for it to be done. Like every 5 seconds, it checks for the UID that's ongoing, and then fetch it. And as I said, like a capture roughly takes like 30 seconds for like normal size captures. It can go to like minutes if the website is really big, and it can take a while. But again, Lacus really like the standalone in a corner, like just stuff you can store, you can run in a specific machine that doesn't like contains all your data set, all your Lookyloo data set, and so on. So, but you can also use Lacus just as like a thing. Like you don't need to use Lookyloo if you just want to do captures, and you are just interested in like getting raw data out of your captures. So what Lacus does, the result of the capture is like a screenshot, rendered HTML, the whole storage, so cookies, local storage, IndexedDB, URL in the browser bar, favicons, the runtime of capture, downloaded file, you can have one or more, on the HTTP archive, so the HIR file. I should actually just, oops. Yeah. So yeah, that's just like what Lacus is doing. And I'm going to quickly show you like how that looks from apps. Like in just if you just quickly write a script that push a capture and like trigger the capture and get the response. Oops, come on. Up. Just trying to be lazy and just do that, but I just need to pass it. Okay, no, okay. So HTML code is rendered. Yes, the HTML code is rendered. Like basically, we just take like the full capture and it's rendered in a browser. So the HTML code that you get like the full rendered HTML code from the page at the end of the capture. So everything that is modified by JavaScript is going to be in the rendered HTML. Oops. So here I enqueued, so I connected to Lacus, enqueued the capture. Oops, I'm just going to do that. So I have my UID here. So as I said here, like the response of that query, if it's -1, the UID is unknown. If it's 0, it's like queued but not started. 1 means done, and 2 means capture started. So in this case, I have the capture ongoing, and now it's done. So I'm going to now show you that. Oops. So I'm getting the capture, and like the response here is a lot because like the response, like the stuff I get from Lacus is a dictionary that contains all those settings. So if I do, for example, R and get the HTML, it's going to be like the full rendered HTML from, like, in that case, google.com. Oops. if I do if I take the HR, I can get the HR of the page. Oops. If I get the apps last redirected URL, that's the one that is like in my browser. That's what I'm going to get from here. I can get like the PNG. So in that, it's going to be like the screenshot. If I go for like the storage, like that's like the local storage plus the cookies that I had in the capture I just did. So yeah, that's actually like this one is like quite amusing. That's like the local storage here definitely contains like a bunch of search requests, I'm gonna guess, that are like common from wherever I did the capture. So it's the capture is done via Luxembourg, so there's like a lot of people liking like Thomas Müller, I guess. Anyway, so that's just you see like fairly easily you can like push a capture, like wait for it to be done, get the result, and if you don't want to have the whole Lookyloo rendering trees and indexing and so on, you can just use Lacus as a standalone tool. With the exact same settings as you would be using in Lookyloo, but without the overhead. Cloudflare. Cloudflare is a problem on so many levels. But yeah, so Cloudflare tends to detect. So the default Cloudflare will not block a capture triggered by Playwright. But if it's configured in a way to block all bots, it will be detected and blocked. That's the one that I am like actively working on. Patch right. So that one is Patchwright is a tool that I just discovered like really not long ago, but it's like patching directly Playwright, the core on the Python module to hide all kind of like stuff that can use to detect bots. I don't really trust it to be like maintained long term, so I don't really want to use it. But I found like what kind of specific settings that can be detected. So I will try to find ways to like hide them somehow. Work in progress, definitely not there yet, but yeah, it's definitely a limiting thing right now. If Cloudflare is configured in a way to block all bots, you cannot render the page in Playwright, whatever you're doing. Even if you open it with a headful page, you still have some JavaScript injected, and that JavaScript has a specific name. And if like you look for it, you find it, and you can block the request. So yeah, it is what it is right now. I don't really have an easy way around it. But a lot of and I don't think like the blocking for bots is accessible for like free Cloudflare instances. Again, I don't know exactly how Cloudflare does the dealing. I just hope they don't take money or too much money from like fishers, but who knows? Yeah, Cloudflare still a problem, and no easy way around it as far as I know. If you have any idea, please let me know. It is definitely annoying. You can also, so I would quickly mention like the proxy situation. The proxies are directly stored in Lacus if you use like a standalone Lacus instance in a corner. And the recommended way to use proxies is to use WireGuard, because there's a tool that is really cool called Wire Proxy. And Wire Proxy takes a WireGuard config and spins a local SOX5 instance. And on that SOX5 proxy, you can just like pass it to the capture and run the capture through that proxy. So for example, if you have, say you have like a Proton VPN account, Proton VPN offers like WireGuard configs. You can just download them. So you can like get those config, pass them to Lacus, and it will automatically like open the SOX5 proxy, and you can send your capture through that. And one thing that is tricky with proxies is that if you have like by the time you pass a proxy to a browser, for the browser, all the IPs that have been resolved are the IPs of the proxy itself, because the browser talks to the proxy and nowhere else. It's a problem when you would like to get the actual IP addresses that have been used for like the page. For that, I implemented a thing that does after the fact another resolution for all the IPs of all the domains in the edge layer, and it runs those DNS resolution through the SOX5 proxy. I can talk about it for much longer, but basically, as long as you use a WireGuard proxies on a SOX5 with like SOX5, you will have an edge layer file at the end of the capture that contains the right IP address, at least IP addresses that resolve, like the domain that resolves those IP addresses through the proxy. If there is load balancing, you might have like the other IP of the load balancing, but like I don't really have an easy way to do that because I cannot just force my browser to do the DNS resolution directly through the proxy and give me the IP address. So there's just like no way to do that. So I have just a way to just auto-populate the HR file, so you don't have something that is just 127.0.1 for all the IPs in the capture that you've done through the proxy, which is somewhat annoying. But yeah, and if you have, like, I just have like the sample here. If you have a proxy configured, like with wire proxy, you can just pass the proxies like that. You just like the proxy name on the disk. You just like pass that name to the capture, and Lacus take care of just setting everything up without asking you any further question. That's basically what's happening. That's the same thing as what's happening when I go here on apps on the public Lookyloo instance. And I go here, capture config, and I have like a set of like predefined proxies here. By default, you have a Tor proxy too. So basically, you can also capture anything you want through Tor if you want to. Yeah, like the Selenium, there's like a few options to like try to bypass Cloudflare and like other kind of like captcha and so on. But yeah, it is like from my experience, it is moderately reliable. So yeah, if something is working great, I would definitely look into it. Right now, my like current thinking is to find ways to avoid patching full playwright and just like hiding the JavaScript endpoints somehow. I need to dig into it. But yeah, so anyway, that's what you can do for Lacus and using the proxies and everything directly if you don't want to rely on Lookyloo. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half. Let's take a break. Let's take a 15-minute break, and then we'll keep going with Pandora. So let's say we're gonna be back in like quarter to 4, and then keep going. So yeah, sorry for the one who just arrived. We're just gonna take a break for like 15 minutes now. Okay, so if you have any questions or anything, feel free to like dump them in the chat. We can also have like a quick chat after the break, but like let's take a break now. Okay, so I'm going to get ready to start again. Yep. Just getting. Okay. Okay, so let's get started again. Just making sure, just confirm you can hear me fine, just before I keep going and talk for a while without having anyone hear anything. Okay, we're good. Excellent. Cool. So let's get back to it. So Pandora is like another tool that is like useful in like with Lookyloo when you want to analyze files. So the initial goal for Pandora was at the bank when they receive like files, they receive stuff via email. And generally, stuff is going to be can bank statement, it can be passports, it can be ID cards. It's going to be basically stuff that people need to use during their work and don't have an easy way to just share them and receive them from third parties in any easy way. I mean, there are like other options generally, but like it's going to at some point land in an email. And we wanted to, or at least like the bank, and then just makes sense for everyone to have access to that kind of thing, to like avoid submitting people's passport to VirusTotal because it happens a lot. Like we've seen travel agencies submitting passports to VirusTotal just because they got via email and didn't know what was in it. Then, for those of you who don't know, VirusTotal, by the time something lands on VirusTotal, anyone can basically search for it, fetch it, do whatever they want with it, as long as they have a paid account. And everyone and their dog has a paid account at this point. So when a file lands on VirusTotal, it's basically a security incident. And you have to inform the victim like of the leak. You have to inform like the regulatory agency. It can be just like an absolute mess. And we also don't want to require the help desk to check every attachment. You could like throw them if you have big organizations. You could potentially throw it like in antivirus and so on. But like you're gonna have stuff that goes through those kinds of blocking, and it makes sense to like block as many attachments as possible if you can like find them and spot them quick enough. But it's gonna be like you will have stuff that goes through. And when you think about it, most of the time, when someone receives a document, by the time they can look at it and see the content, it's gonna be enough. Like just being able to see, okay, that's the passport, that's the ID, that's whatever document. I just see what's in it. I take that information from like that thing I see, and I don't need to look at it ever again. And if you basically teach your users when they receive an email to just put the attachment to something that's just going to show them the content of it, it will not impact their work that much. And it's not going to impact the work of the help desk that needs to do all kind of like checks or whatever. And they will stop on like the most conscious ones, the ones who want to like make sure that they don't open malware on their machine. We're not submit on third parties that they should really not submit it to. And then by the time they have something uploaded on Pandora, they can share the link like share a temporary link to someone for analysis. They can submit to the help desk, but they can just do their work quick and then decide what they want to do afterward with whatever they received. The downside of that is that you're going to have a lot of false positive and false negative. The reason is that Pandora is looking at like active content. It's taking the file, looking for like active content in it. And then can also check the hash against various total and a bunch of like different third-party services, just the hash, not the actual file. That would be ridiculous. You can also, so it's gonna do like a few checks like that, but like you're going to have files that have like typically a PDF containing open action that is potential active content, but I can't tell. So it will be flagged as like malicious, even if the content is not malicious. But if it's a PDF, you can just see that content of that PDF on Pandora. So if you teach your user to just not submit stuff to Pandora and just look at the content, it's gonna already solve a lot of your problems. So I'm just going to take a file from somewhere that I don't remember exactly what I have here. Yeah, if you want to submit all those instances are like accessible for whoever wants it. So you can just feel free to go use it and look at like some content. So yeah, running in the background. The rendering is done in LibreOffice. So it's basically taking anything that LibreOffice can open, it to be sent to LibreOffice and then turned into an image and at some point render it there. Unless I broke this instance and it's somehow not working, which, I don't have any issue with the demo until now, but we will see if that's the case now. Well, that's my demo instance. So let's just see. Just going to go to open the other one, not as admin. Oops. Yeah, this one should be working fine. Up. If I go for that. Yeah, okay. So I don't know. The demo instance is somehow not working right now. We'll look at it later. Okay, well, this one, the preview is not particularly interesting. Let me just submit something else. But basically, typically, if someone receives a document that when they send it to Pandora, it's blank, it's probably not a good thing. They probably don't want to open it on their own machine. Oops, probably not. Right. Just sample file here. You get that. You have a screenshot. You have observables. Observables are something to show basically if you have a URL, you can take that URL, send it to Lookyloo. It's an old file, so this one is not going to be working anymore. But then you have all kind of other content here. You can see, so again, active content in PDF. Not sure how malicious that one is, but again, that could be malicious. Various total, again, just send the hash, not the full file, for obvious reasons. A bunch of other modules, and those ones are not flagging and not detecting anything, but yeah, you have the idea of what this one is doing. Yeah. So yeah, that's just simple way to see what's in a file without opening it on your own machine. And again, if you want to try submitting your own file, feel free to use that one. Obviously, if you want to run it in your own organization, run your own Pandora. Don't rely on the one from Circle. But yeah, you can just play with it a bit. Yeah, so yeah, Pandora has a connection to various total, just API connection, submitting the hash, not the full file. Let's see if I can get this one here to render. Yeah, basically another one. This one was a docx file. Again, you have it rendered here. On this one, again, when I say like false positive, false negative, in this case, this one doesn't contain anything obviously malicious. I'm pretty sure that link is bad though. Yeah, that link is going to be bad. Again, it's an old file, so submitting to Lookyloo will not do anything useful. But when you get that, you can just send it here. So good question, Andrew. If you get an email, that is exactly my next slide here. Pandora can also listen on IMAP mailbox. So say you get an email, instead of like downloading the file on your machine, sending it to Pandora, you can directly forward the mail to Pandora, and Pandora will answer with a link that is like a permalink to that one. I need to show you also like so basically permalink to that, and you can click on that, open the file, like open the result in your browser, and you don't need to open anything on your own machine. Yeah, that's true. It's true. There's a link of the different workers. Like there is like documentation is not necessarily like amazing for any of the tools. Feel free to get in touch, and if you want to contribute to documentation, absolutely go for it. I'm glad to like have pull requests and everything. But yeah, so basically forward mailbox, like forward to an IMAP mailbox, does the trigger the results, send you back a link, open it in your browser. Look at the content, get the observables, contents an email, contents a link, send it to Lookyloo. You have the rendering then in Lookyloo. If the file you received is an HTML document, you can also take that file and basically submit the full file to Lookyloo for rendering. And some stuff I've seen is like you get an email containing an attachment that contains a link. When you open that link, it triggers a download. You can send that link to Lookyloo. Lookyloo gets the file. You can take that file and send it back to Pandora, which is something that I can show you from like one of the link I have above here. So like again, that one here. So by the time you have that, you can. So I think it's going to send it to the Pandora instance is not working, but like it can still show you. You have it. Oh, that's not the right one. I know that's a file sample. It's not a download sample. Wait, this one. Oops. So yeah, go here, downloads, submit to Pandora, and then I have the link here on Pandora. The preview worked for this one. Anyway, it's okay. Oh, it's work. No, okay, send it to the public one. Okay, so yeah, basically here you have like that. This file in that case is not malicious. It's just contains an open action. I need to do something about that to basically like check what kind of content open actions I have, and not just send a warning when I have just an action that contains nothing bad in it, as far as I can tell. But then, so you have the file contains a link. You can then send that link to Lookyloo, and then see the capture on Lookyloo once it's done. So again, you can do back and forth between the two without having to open anything on your own machine, which is then quite handy as like just good practices for your users. So Pandora will extract a lot of different types of archives. So if you have a zip file, a RAR, an ACE, whatever, just like all those kind of weird formats, most of them at least, you can just extract them directly on Pandora. And I can actually show that to you here. If I submit like a zip, it's going to also, if you have a password zip, it's also going to try a bunch of default passwords and hopefully find the right one. But yeah, so again, like this one here, this one is like well known. It's also like you also have a MIST connector, obviously, so you can just do a lookup against MIST. Extracted, you have the file here, and this one is actually quite amusing. You have like it's extracted, and it's an ISO. And oh, I thought it was going to be like, yeah, anyway, okay, this one is like, So anyway, I was expecting like another like extraction from the ISO itself. I need to check that. But yeah, anyway, you have like the whole results for that one. Um, yes, cluster mode, not really. No, like it might be a problem if you send every email attachment. It's gonna be a problem. Probably. I mean, again, would need to check. Like it's relatively lightweight. Um, but yeah, like that would probably need some tweaking. You could potentially have multiple. I mean, you will see. Like if the machine when it's running on is beefy enough, it shouldn't be much of a problem. Something to keep in mind still is that it's using LibreOffice for like rendering of like Office documents. You might end up like make sure that your LibreOffice is really up to date because if you have an ODE in one of your files that is like popping LibreOffice, you're gonna have issues. So yeah, speaking of like security considerations, same on Lookyloo. You are like rendering a URL in an actual browser. Browser is up to date as long as you keep it up to date. It's just when you update the tool, it's going to update everything. But like if you have an ODE in Chrome or in Chromium and you open a URL that is doing that, you could potentially pop your server. Like the browser is killed, like it would be tricky to do, but keep that in mind. A machine where everything is running should be fairly tightly controlled. You might have bad things happening on that. So as I said, extract observables, email, hashes, URL can be sent to Lookyloo. HTML doc, you can send them to Lookyloo. Download file from Lookyloo can be sent to Pandora. You can just do all back and forth this way fairly easily. If you have custom URL rules, you can also just add them. Like just like add your URL rules, they will be automatically triggered against all the files that are uploaded. Can be useful. Yeah. So again, like to circle back to like what we were discussed about at the beginning, Virgil is like a packaging, it's a package that is going to install everything as like at once. So everything meaning Lacus, Lookyloo, Pandora on the Lookyloo monitoring. And if you have if you have like a MISP instance available, you can also pre-configure all of that. If you have a VT key, you can just do that. URL scan, URL host, hybrid analysis, just all those modules you can basically pre-configure in Virgil itself, like in the apps. Just going to like show you how that looks here. You can you have like a Ansible playbooks with settings that you can just go there. If you set like in this one, you just like configure the file, set all your API keys in it. And when you trigger the Ansible playbook deployments, you're gonna just have them all configured as they should with with the right keys and everything. So really easy, and you can run all those files on different machines or on one single machine, depending on how you feel and how your infrastructure is working. But yeah, it all use Let's Encrypt by default, just because it's easier. You can do all the setup, all everything I've talked about, or most of it. Probably still do a bit more work on Virgil, but like almost everything is going to be just there at once. And you can just use like one single command. When you have everything set up, you just like run the playbook, the update playbook. It will just automatically update all the instances, install all the new packages, restart everything, and you have everything up and running after that. I hate Docker just on principle. I find it extremely hard to debug when we have Docker files on the different projects, but like I always have people with issues with it because something is broken. At least when you use Ansible, you have an actual user, an actual machine that you can just go edit the file easily, restart a single script and so on. Like just a lot easier to manage down the line and to debug. So that's why I try to go as much as I can on Ansible versus Docker. But if you really want to use Docker and you know what you're doing, feel free to use a Docker image. You have like Docker Compose, Docker image, everything. It's just gonna do the thing if you know what you're doing. because I will have a really hard time helping you if something is just weirdly not working. Yeah, so that's Virgil. I quickly mentioned like Lacus being like a standalone tool. You can use it without Lookyloo. So AIL, there will be a workshop on Thursday, the 17th, uses Lacus for the capturing and does its own processing in AIL, in IL. So that's something you can also do if you have your own infrastructure. You just want to use the capturing part of what I discussed. If you know about assembly line, it's an excellent tool developed by CCCS and partners. And I went last month to the Geek Week event in Ottawa, and we worked on getting assembly line services for Lookyloo and for Lacus. So it's coming soon. Like it's not like in the toolchain yet, but like it's getting there. And last week I was at Pass the Salt, and I discussed with the Open Relic people to also have modules to do URL rendering and capture as a unit using Lacus for Open Relic. So that's probably going to happen later this year for Open Relic, and assembly line. Pretty sure, like in the next couple of months, it's going to be like in the tool chain everywhere. So yeah, just for like integrations and like possible stuff that we're going to have in the next months, week to months. Yeah, and if you have your own integration, feel free to get in touch. If you want to just use Lacus for like something, just like let me know. We can figure out how to do it if you need any kind of support. Integration-wise, all the tools have their own Python modules. So PyLacus, PyLookyloo, PyLookyloo monitoring, PyPandora, PySerious.txt to get the TXT file. Just don't I miss a lot of them. It's just everything that is like a web interface is gonna have a Python module to just use it and integrate it with your own tools. So just feel free to get in touch if you don't find it directly, but like it's all gonna be there, and feel free to use it. Yeah. So yeah, that covers pretty much all I wanted to talk about for like the tool chain and how like different features and so on. I have like a next section when I was going to show you show use cases and examples of like I'm using captures I had in the last few weeks. Basically, like if you were at Pass the Salt, it's going to be the same presentation or like same content. If you were not, and a bunch of you were definitely not, it's fun. Like it's a bunch of like mostly talking about like privacy violations and so on, but also some phishing and stuff like that. But quite a few interesting examples. If you have any question, feel free to like throw them in the chat or open your mic anytime. It's gonna be a lot less like just gonna be much more open from what I'm going to talk about now. But yeah, like I can definitely show you of interesting stuff in the next hour. Yeah. Oops. Oh yeah. Pass the Salt. It was a conference just like last week. Oops. Like this one here. It was great. All the videos are available, including the talk I'm going to like go through a bit now. But yeah, excellent conference. Go look at the videos if you're interested. It's cool. Okay, so I'm just going to show you like a few examples, few amusing things. So phishings and scams, like when you have a phishing site versus the legit site, the one with the least amount of content loaded is generally going to be the phishing site. Like phishing sites tend to be very small and just try to not make too much noise, and also don't have all the tracking that the official sites will end up having. Yeah. So I quickly showed this one earlier. Just going to like reopen it. But yeah, this one extremely small. Oops, so again, like you have like you can do the pivoting on that. When you look at like the different images, you can just like see what they are. Look at the other capture with the same image. This one, like just the Ajax loader, is going to be seen a lot of like legit sites too. But if you go for something that is more like apps, um, up, let's just find one that is clearly from that bank. Yeah, that one. Yeah, exactly. You just share the link. So basically, just like you can use that to like pivot on images and find interesting content. Again, this website, very tiny, almost nothing, like almost no content led. Um, I have like another one here, also like interesting. uh, another American bank. And some of those ones, like what comes interesting is like when you have like a bunch of redirects like that end up being like you have like a page reload or something, and just like rendering those ones tend to be really hard if you don't have an actual like browser to render it. Like if you just do use curl or just don't do any JavaScript, don't run on JavaScript, you will miss a lot of the content. But once again, you have that, and then like this one doesn't have any favicon, but if I can go in the resources are the best way to do it, to find like every other like similar content. This one not really interesting, but like yeah, this one Bank of America, you have like two captures that are clearly malicious stuff containing the same image here. Uh, Really handy to just use that to pivot. So if I go on this one, slightly older, but yeah, same kind of content. Yeah. Um, and then I have like another one here, like it's on the French bank. And once again, but I think a little bit bigger, but like nothing, no, not even very small again. A bunch of resources loaded from here. Um, like when you click on the nodes like that, you can use the IP and like see all the capture with the same IP for them. So like from one node, you can just do the pivoting and just like finding other references to like each of those entries. It might take a bit of time to render sometimes, but like it's really working fine. So this one is just like all on like my bluehost.me, just yeah. But like that's again interesting for like looking at like phishing sites. But I wanted to show you like actual bad, like terrible sites that are legit, but heavily mess with privacy. And GDPR is complicated and not necessarily like amazing, but somewhat annoying. But if you start looking at like the same websites rendered from outside Europe, it's worse, so much worse. At least when you open something in Europe, you have to click on a button before it just like takes all your all your information and just like tracks you to death. Use an ad blocker, just always, all the time. That's like a security device at this point. Just ad blocker, you block everywhere all the time for everything. You will see what I mean. So I'm going to close a few pages. I recommend stuff open here. So I'm going to like open a page here that is what is my IP address.com. If I open it without clicking on authorize everything. So I'm opening it here. Still like quite a lot of content are being loaded, but like it's still fine. I open that one, I open the screenshot, and I have like my IP address. I just used it like through a proxy to exit in Paris, just Proton VPN stuff. And then you have like the page here. I didn't click on anything here. Like it's just the page, gives me my IP, and that's it. And that's what is being loaded. Still looks somewhat sketchy. That's a lot of content because everything is useful is actually just like loaded from here. Everything else is like ads and tracking. So now let's go for the next one, where you open that page and you click on the GDPR link, on the authorize everything. And you see that the page is like taking a little bit longer to load. generally it's a bad sign. So that looks already interesting. I'm just going to look at the stats because that's the crazy bit. This one, I just clicked. I'm just going to first of all look at that. So same IP, but I clicked on the button. The page looks very similar. Like it is just, it's not that much difference. Look at the stats. Now this one is loading 1,200 unique URLs, sets, receive 400 cookies, send 300. Just after I clicked on the button. Total size 17 megs. And let me just zoom out because like that doesn't really gives it like that. Those numbers are not necessarily like enough. So I'm at the top of the page right now, and like the top of the tree, and I'm going to like scroll down all the way to the bottom. And I'm not at the middle yet. I'm not in the middle of the of the tree. Keeps going a little bit more. And now I'm at the middle of the tree, and I keep going down, and I have like all that stuff here that's being loaded. That is just yes to everything, yes to all tracking on that page. That is just giving you your IP address. It's not doing anything else. Well, it's tracking you, but like it's not, you don't really expect it to do that much stuff. And yeah, like what is actually like on that domain is still like all the way up here. And as far as I can tell, that's the same amount of requests. That is just like basically like those three here are the legitimate content that is used to like give you your IP address. Set, and that's also going to be the interesting part. You have quite a lot of cookies. Again, we have like 300 cookies, if I remember correctly. Yeah, to 262 unique, so probably, yeah. And then the storage. And the storage is also fun. You have local storage. So again, I was talking about it at the beginning. Local storage is stored on your machine, but it's not sent in the cookie. So it's accessible in JavaScript from the page that is rendered and is used to track you, but you will not see it on the network traffic. It's only going to be accessed in the browser in JavaScript. It looks like cookies, but it's not. Yeah. And here is the index database. This one is fairly small here, but like IndexedDB, again, that's like a bunch of keys and stuff that are stored on your machine. Most of the time, IndexedDB is used to store like if you use like an Electron app, for example, it's going to store all your messages and so on, like Signal or whatever. It's going to like store it in IndexedDB. But again, that's like can be big. IndexedDB can be half of the size of half of the free space on your disk, up to that amount. So yeah, that's interesting. And then you have like okay, all the local storage that is like by domain. So you have, yeah, then pre-bid. Like it just, I'm going to talk about the bidding interface after that. But that's the page captured again from Paris. And this one is no, I wanted to look at the stats. 1,200 URLs. And then I have the next one that is captured, again, VPN, but exit in Los Angeles. This one is fun. So again, it's going to take a bit to load because that's a lot. And yeah, we still need to wait a bit. It's coming. Okay, now it's here. Statistics. Like 1,500 unique URLs. Cookies are like cookie received like 800. I think we had like 500 before, and like another 400 cookies sent. So yeah, it is a complete madhouse. On total load time, again, like I said earlier, but like total load time is not the time it took for the page to load, because it would be like 30 minutes. We definitely didn't have like 30 minutes for the page to load. It's the cumulative time of all the responses. So it's like, but a lot of it happens in parallel, so it's not taking as long. But still, just rendering that page, that gives me, again, my IP address is like almost 19 megs of content. And a lot of tracking. And again, that page is not really that much different. All the pages visually are basically all the same. It's just a lot of tracking that's just been triggered by all that mad ad network stuff. So yeah, despite all the complaints and the issues with GDPR, at least when you open a page, you have a button you need to click on before it just tracks you to death. So that's something. And again, I mentioned that earlier, like you can also do a capture of on Lookyloo, you can do a capture using mobile device. So like using mobile settings for the capture. So again, this website is also like terrible in terms of like tracking. It's like my good like test bed to make sure that everything is working fine. It's like a news, celebrity news website, whatever. So yeah, this one also like not great. But this one I rendered it like as a mobile device. That's why you have like just like the size of the screen is much smaller because I just rendered it as let me check. Oh yeah, it doesn't say anyway, like some Samsung device of sort. But yeah. So anyway, that's just like how it looks. But what's interesting with Lookyloo is when you start to do like forensic and like more investigation, like what kind of content is sent and like how the tracking works and so on, you can dig into like actual like what has been sent by which request. So again, if I'm going to like I'm on this one, so up. Yeah, I just looked a bit, so I know where to look at and which kind of content to look at. But basically, here you have it's not going to be this one. Check. It's this one. So here you will see that you have you can basically investigate each request like on request response and see what's in each of them. And in this case, like we have a call to like some ad network of sort that is like posting a JSON file that I can fetch and open. On that JSON file here, yeah, it's not going to be super. I'm going to go back to my slides because that's going to be slightly more. Yeah, I like just dumped it in a JQ. But basically here you have like a bunch of like, you have the bidder that are enabled on the page. You have like I'm guessing the account, like the organization account. Would be interesting to like do some mapping on that too. If GDPR, if you are like covered by GDPR and if you only gave your consent. And then here you're gonna have like the specific bidder and like the URL is going to send the information to, or like get like it's going to just information of like how to bid on that specific interface. And then in you also have in the post you have like a bunch of user data. So in this case we have like what we gave our consent to. We have like the domain that is like doing the request. And here we have like the type of device we are on. So in that case, we have like the width and the height of the screen, user agent, type of user agent, and yeah. And here we have like the way it works is that basically your client, like your browser, does a request and says, "Hey, I have that div that can take banner of like that kind of sizes. What do you have for me?" And in the response, you get like what to put in the div. You have the price of the auction, and like which domain like is like responding to the like in which like ads you're gonna see. So like the way you do the bidding is like it's really your browser does a request and says, "Hey, give me something for that," and then like depending on like the bidding interface, how they answer to you, they're going to give you something to fill that specific div with an ad. And what's interesting is you also have like how quickly each of the ad networks are responding. But then like like you have here, you have like the price of each bidding. So this one is like in USD and this one is like in euro, but basically they're the same one that you can just see. A lot of like interesting investigation to do with that. I haven't done that much of it, but like it gives you still an idea that what you can do if you dig into a capture like that to see, okay, how the whole infrastructure for like ads work. Yeah, so this one, and then we have all the whatever, I don't know, crypto scam, AI slop, crypto spam, just who knows what that is, who knows which is which. And I'm gonna start with the actual legitimate with big hair quotes of like Liberty Financial, like the Trump Bitcoin thing. So I did the capture here, worldlibertyfinancial.com, fairly small website. You have like, again, the screenshot here. And if I go in the resources, I'm going to find the other sites that are, if I do again, images here, oops, I have like the one coin. I can go on that and then see that I have like the official one and then the non-official ones that have the same image. Everything in .lol is bad, just by default. Nothing. There's nothing good happening on that on that TLD. But they have all the crypto scams, like just everything crypto scam is on .lol, which accurate. So yeah, you can just go there and then go look at it and do your buy your Bitcoin from the legit one or the not legit one. You know, you pick. You lose your money anyway, one way or the other. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So that's this one is interesting. Then we have like I just like take the image for like I think ETH. I think that's what this one is. I don't really remember, but yeah, like you can basically get a hash, use that logo, and then find all the sites. Again, it's all .lol, and all those ones are bad. I mean, you probably have a legit one somewhere in there, but that's just gonna be a lot of bad content on there. It's taking a bit of time to load because you have I just like selected one that was probably like unwise. But yeah, like basically from an image like that, you can just pivot and find all the other captures that contain that same one. Even if like in that case, it's interesting. In that case, like the image is not visible anywhere, but it's somewhere in the page. So yeah, it's yep. So yeah, like, do we do anything with it for the obvious for the phishing sites that we try to do takedown requests? For crypto, we don't. Like we all have a life, and no, like we don't really bother with it. Like yeah, for like bank phishing sites, we try to take down requests. Like anything that is like legit, like legit activities, yeah, we try to do takedowns. If you want to do your own, like it's possible to do to like do more. Like if you have your own phishing site, you want to automate something, feel free to just to do it. But yeah, it's like those ones are like just interesting to pivot and to find like interesting malicious content. But yeah, that's just interesting stuff to look at. That one, like debug DApp node thing, is like a well-known phishing thing that is stealing your wallet. It's been going forever, as far as I can tell. Like I've seen capture with like similar content for like over a year ago. It's like you have a lot. And and yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a mess. But they're going forever because I'm guessing like nobody really does anything about it, because what is there to do anyway? Yeah, I'm just going to open it. But like basically, when you have a big Lookyloo instance, what's pretty cool is that you can go fairly far back in time and find like the first usage of like a specific image or specific content, like years ago, if you have a really old instance. So yeah, so just using specific things like that to just like find um, phishing sites or like find like copies of pages is quite nice. Um, uh, Fake predatory joint compliance. We have not really done that, but that's something that we could do. Like if you want to like try to like investigate how specific sites are like tracking you, Lookyloo is a really good way to do that. Um, this one is, as far as I can tell, just some kind of AI slop. Um, I tried to read a bit what that was, and I don't know. I don't know what that's supposed to be doing. I don't know what that's supposed to try to sell me. There was no obvious like stealing any kind of information. It was just like trash AI slop, auto-generated on like page.dev, which is also like just, I don't know. It might be something to like take money from ad networks. I don't know. Like it's just this one that you find a bunch of those ones where I'm like, sure it exists. It's definitely a website. Somehow landed on Lookyloo. Who knows? Um, and then I have like a few genuinely hilarious coins. Pepe coins are a thing, and there are quite a few of them. This one is like Little Pepe. Is it legit? Is it not legit? Is it a scam? How much is it of a scam? Meme coin, just whatever that is. And I have another one just below that is like Lil X Pepe. This one is on .lol, so I'm assuming it's like the fake meme coin that goes with it. Maybe, maybe not. It's just like, yeah, again, images. Like I think for this one I found the legit one from one of those. If it's not the same website copied twice. Um, no, that's the same one. So yeah, who knows? No, like it is insane. Like the artwork is impressive. Um, and like I had like the on like the first time I looked at the Pepe coin was WP, which is Wall Street Pepe token. I don't know. I think this one is like the legitimate one. I'm gonna see. No, it's not the legitimate one. This one is again the page.dev, and this one is definitely going to like steal your money. When the other one is also definitely going to steal your money, but you probably have a URL you can use afterward, or it may not steal all your tokens. I don't know. Oh yeah, no. The reason this one is actually definitely legit is because you have all the ad networks on it. That's important. This one has all the tracking enabled, when this one doesn't. So you know which one is which by looking at the side of the tree. This one is also stealing your data, when the other one is just stealing your money. But yeah, it's fascinating. Like if you look at like all the fake meme coin things that are on Lookyloo, you have a lot of really amusing things. I wanted to like also show you, Webflow. Webflow.io is where all the phishing coins are. I don't know if they have any legit business, but clearly everything on here is bad. Just going to open a few just for fun. Like everything here is just bad and has weird, like a lot of those ones have like the viewport has like the legit-ish side, and then below that you have like some other content that I'm guessing when indexed is used to make it like look legitimate. It's all those ones are just there's nothing good happening on Webflow.io as far as I can tell. And you just find all of them on that one. That's just how I find my bad examples. Um, Turns out now, so um, that's new. Now I think alleging fake fake banking sites. I'm gonna guess. No, this one is also like crypto. Until not long ago, you had I think glitch.me was all the boring phishing sites, meaning like the bank stuff. And Webflow had all the crypto. But glitch.me, as far as I can tell, just went out of business, so you don't have it anymore. But Webflow definitely still kicking. And that's just like 2 days capture. Like it is not like that. Those ones are all like from like earlier today. Um, yeah, it's bad out there. But yeah, like feel free to like play with it, like have a look at like different captures. It's all like you can like search for it and so on. Yeah, but yeah, the coins are fascinating. Yeah, so like just have a few more links here. Yeah, so it's been like 2.5 hours. Do you have any questions? Oops, I just saw like a message here. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to have like if you have any questions, go for it. If you want to like if you want me to capture some websites or like, explain if you have a capture that you would like me to explain, feel free to also like just paste it in the chat. Like I have like another 20 minutes like we can use to like discuss on a bunch of stuff. But I went through like most of my sample. Yes. Lookyloo can capture onions. I'm going to show you how that looks. So oops, you can capture onions or capture Viator. So oops, yeah, my main test case is like the Facebook onion site. By default, again, if you have a Tor, like a Tor client running on your machine, it will automatically connect to it and like send the onion, just like send the onions to that Tor proxy. So if I just do that, it will just do the rendering, like the capturing as it is a normal website. If you go, I can also up tag. If I go here, you can also like let's see if I can do that. Let's see if this one is blocking me or not. I don't know. You can also select Tor in the list of proxies here and do the capture through Tor. So, oops. So yeah, it's going to be through Tor. It's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, like that is easy to configure. You can just do whatever you want with that. On the public instance, as it pre-configured, if you run everything locally on your own machine, you need to like or own server, you need to just do like some config, but like that's all fairly straightforward. Okay, this one is now down. So yeah, here we have the rendering. Well, yeah. So Facebook has an onion site, but also doesn't really let you do anything. But yeah, anyway, that's you have it here. I'm going to just use that to like see if I have like interesting check phishing. Yeah, like I have quite a few of those ones. Let's see ways you can do without sending alerts. So okay, without sending alerts, what do you mean by like sending alerts? Because like it will still render the page. So if the website is like triggered by like bots or something, it's going to like detect it. By default, there is no notification sent. By default, just like the capture is done on Lookyloo, and that's just where it's gonna stay. Um, um, Docker to deploy Lookyloo, we will need like you will need to like open an issue on GitHub, on like we can talk about it. Like it's gonna be tricky. Like I will not be able to just debug that like live. The best is to like go on GitHub, open issue, and then we can discuss that from there. Yeah. The recording will go to a Circle site, like I think the page with like where you have all the lists. Um, yeah, it's gonna go there. Yeah, I think. I mean, I will see with the team where they want to put it, but yeah, that's probably gonna be just the easiest. Yeah. Um, Check. I will also put the slides on that same site. Yeah. So yeah, again, like I just clicked on the favicon. I have like quite a few. This one is like mostly legit sites. It's mostly actual Facebook, but like not only here. You have a bunch of other ones. Like you have a bunch of like definitely like not not legit sites using the same favicon. So yeah, using it like basically if you have your own company and you want to find like Lookyloo works best if you have a lot of captures that are all indexed and you just use like you capture your own site and then see if you have like same content on other sites and you can just basically find like phishing sites targeting you this way. The main issue is that you need to capture like a lot of phishing sites to just find them. Um, the other way is to just like send everything to the Lookyloo instance and like find it from the public one and work from there. But yeah, that's gonna depend with like which kind of resources you have and how much you want to invest in it. Um, yeah, like is there anything else I wanted to show? So yeah, it's all accessible on GitHub and so on. I mean, you know how to find it. Um, yeah. Um, so yeah. Regarding so yeah, for big websites, like when you capture like big website, when I try to see like comparison for like from one big website to the next, um, I don't think I will be able to like show anything like easily here, but you can give it a try if you so. I just had a question. That's why I'm thinking about that. So if you capture a website on Lookyloo and then trigger monitoring, like an hour later, you can do another capture of the same site, and you'll be able to see like the difference between like the two captures. Um, so I can actually just let me just see if I if I go here, I'm just going to like open one. I probably need to also log in. Um, Back. So yeah, I will have everything. That's going to be a problem. Yeah, I have a bunch of like spam that is not visible if you're not logged in, but like it's not really a big deal. Um, so yeah, let me see if I have if I go here. Like when you have like a really big website and you want to like do some comparison between like two captures, you can add a bunch of settings to like stuff to ignore in the comparison. So you can ignore like domains, you can ignore regresses in URL. So typically when you have like UID that change on every request, you want to like ignore like an identifier for that UID just to like ignore the URL itself. Ignore IPs if you have like load balancing. Like you can like do some configuration here to just avoid having too many notification when something is like different between two captures. It's still going to be a problem when you have big websites because you have like so many requests that it's not really scaling. Still, I'm interested in like doing some more work on that, on like possibly like finding ways to do like better comparison between captures. It's a little bit tricky at this point. Like it's not necessarily as straightforward to do. But yeah, that's again work in progress on like stuff we're gonna work on. Um, in the next like months. Is there any other questions, or do you have any like stuff you would like me to capture to like explain what happens at different places, or any? If you want to like speak, we can also do that. I can also like stop the recording if you'd rather me stop the recording so you can ask questions. It's up to you. Um, uh, the result about other things. So basically, it's going to be inside. So when you do a capture in Lookyloo, it's going to be stored like on like basically it's indexed in like in a KV-Rocks database in the backend, and it's only going to do indexing on like images and resources that are in one of the capture. It's not going to do any like lookup outside on the internet. So yeah, it's only like inside Lookyloo. I don't know if I answered your question, Luca. That's yeah. Yep. Yeah, like yeah. So I'm just like thinking, like yeah, we can probably wrap it up at this point unless you have any more questions. I'm going to like stop the recording already. And we can like keep chatting if you have any further questions.